Okay, so first off for today, now I'll start by talking about the weight and the carrying around, like how it does like carrying around places, is it convenient or not. First off, as the name says, iPad Air 4, so it's very light. Without the case, it's very light, but once you put on the case that I'm using, it adds on a lot of weight, and I really don't enjoy the usage experience with the case on. So if you're someone who's gonna use it handheld rather than placing on the table daily, then I recommend using it without the case, but must be careful with that. Now you'll need a case if you're like a student who's taking down notes quite often, or you're doing illustration. I would recommend a case. That's when I generally use a case on my iPad. When I need to do my illustration, I would put on a case and then draw on it. It gives a much better usage experience. Okay, now second part of this video, let's talk about the camera. On the iPad Air 4, it gives just one single lens camera with 12 megapixels. To be honest, I expected the camera quality to be a lot better, but this one didn't match my expectation. The camera quality turns out to be same as my iPhone 10, which I'm currently recording on. I'll have the picture comparison up side by side. Now, the camera, this one, I don't recommend you using it for photography nor videography purposes at all. I'd rather recommend you to use your phone. The camera on this one, it's only present there in case you need to scan like documents. At least that's what I feel like. I would just use it to scan documents. Yeah, even the front-facing camera, it's good just for like FaceTime. That's it. For conference, I don't really do my Zoom meetings on the iPad. I would do it on my laptop. I would still prefer my laptop, MacBook Air 2017 on that rather than this iPad. Okay, now let's talk about the third part of this video. Let's talk about the Touch ID. Coming from the Face ID to Touch ID, having used Touch ID before, it's not much of adaptation that much goes into, but when I started using this iPad, I would find myself going as per I'm used to, so swipe up rather than going for the Touch ID. Yeah, so, but that's not a huge problem. You quickly adapt to it very fast. Here, the Touch ID, and it records various fingerprints, so you can use it from various angles, either from like this angle, or you change it to the other side with another finger. It records various finger ID. Now you use the Touch ID for all the privacy purposes and store purchase and subscriptions. Next up, the screen. Let's talk about the screen. The screen, I really like it. It has the P3 color gamut, True Tone Liquid Retina display. It's an LCD display, but I really love it. I love streaming content, watching Netflix, Apple TV, YouTube. It's really fun on this one. And the color accuracy, let me tell you, it's top notch. It's really top notch. I would even prefer watching content on my iPad on the screen here rather than my TV. Yeah, it's that crazy. Now, next point, now that we already talked about, yeah, the magnetic is not strong at all. Yeah, I'll keep that for later. Let's talk about the speaker. Speaker, even though it has like a 4 cutout for speaker, there are only 2 speakers in here, and you only hear the sound coming from 2 of the speaker, not 4. But I love the speaker, really love it. Could be better, but yeah, that's what you get for like the mid-tier level of the iPad Air 4. I'll play some non-copyright music for you, and you'll see how the speaker is. As you can hear the sound, this is at 50% level. This is at 75%. This is like the sweet spot at 75%. It does pretty well with bass and also with like relics and like sound, like voice sound. It does really well with that. Next up, let's talk about the storage. The storage, as of this point, 1 month of use, 64 GB for me is still pretty great. But if you're someone who uses the iPad as your daily driver, I would really recommend going for 256 gigabytes. But if they had come in around 128 GB, that would be the perfect sweet spot for me, like no doubt, 128. I hope they improve it with the next release. Let's talk about the Apple Pencil 2 itself. Personally, I have not, it's been of less use than I expected, the Apple Pencil 2. Best case scenario that I use it is when I'm doing my illustration, which has not been much of yet. And also on Lightroom, it comes very handy because instead of swiping for the effects and the intensity of the effect with my finger, Lightroom, this Apple Pencil 2 gives much more accuracy when sliding for the effect on Lightroom. So that's two good use scenarios, which I found the Apple Pencil 2 worth it. But you'll need it anyway, the Apple Pencil 2. If you're buying an iPad, I feel this is much more needed than the keyboard itself. It makes the iPad complete. Another thing I could mention about is the Wi-Fi. It comes with Wi-Fi 6. Wi-Fi 6 gives a much more stronger and wider connection. At least that's how I feel like. Because compared to my 2017 MacBook Air, the iPad Air 4 gives a much better wide range of connection. Because using it in my room compared to my 2017 MacBook Air and iPad, this one has a much stronger and faster connection to the Wi-Fi. Because the router is pretty far from my room. Regarding app usage, it runs all the apps that I use pretty smoothly. I'm talking about Lightroom, Canva, Buffer, Airtable. Yeah, it does pretty well. And there's one more app which I bought this iPad especially for. You can find out about the app on my Instagram. If not, a little way down the line, I'll make a video about that app for sure. That's like one of the reasons I bought the iPad. Next up is about the Apple ecosystem. This integrates very well, of course, with all their products. Like the AirDrop function, pretty well. I can transfer files, pictures, videos in just like a matter of seconds or minutes, depending on the file size. I prefer that rather than having to update it on any type of drive. I can just transfer them from each other. That's because I use the AirDrop quite often. That's why I like it. Now, regarding the audio switching when using the wireless headphones, I use Powerbeats Pro, which has the same chipset as AirPods. So instead of having to change audio through the console control center for the audio output, if I'm listening to a podcast on my phone and I want to switch over to watching content on the iPad, suppose I want to watch YouTube or stream some Netflix, I can just open it, and if I have my headphones on, it will switch the audio automatically. I don't have to go and change it in the setting or the control center. So that's one good thing about being in the Apple ecosystem. Battery. Okay, the last one that I'll be talking about is battery. Battery, so far, single day usage has never been a problem for me. Like today, I started my day working around midday, and I didn't charge it last night. I started working around like 12 sharp. The battery was at 80%. Throughout my day, I've been using it like various apps. Also the camera, I'm using it throughout the day. Down to like 7 p.m. You can say like 6-7 hours of usage, including YouTube during my lunch break. It comes down to, it took use around 60% of the battery. So you can say 1 day usage, no problem at all. You don't need to carry the charger around. Unless you're doing heavy tasks like video editing or constant like illustrations, yeah, that you need to carry the charger around. And there are scenarios which I haven't touched the iPad for like a week, and the standby goes for a week. It wouldn't have any problem at all. But if you're using it daily with regular tasks, not power consuming, it will do well. You will need to carry the charger around. Yeah, so that's my 1 month review on the iPad Air 4. Hope it gives you an idea of whether this iPad would be good for you or not, would be a good purchase for you or not. Yeah, I think I didn't miss out anything, but If I miss out anything, feel free to leave a comment in my section below. I'm just starting off, so yeah, I miss out here and there. But thank you for your support. If you're watching till this point, I really appreciate you watching it. And a lot of you guys have been sending me like feedback. Trust me, I'm trying to improve day by day with the feedback you guys give me. So thank you for that. Yeah, and if you're thinking about which iPad to purchase for yourself, be it the iPad 8th generation, iPad Air 4, which is this one, and the iPad Pro, I'll be coming out with a video soon after this one, comparing all the iPads and which one you should buy in 2021. So be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for that one. Also follow my Instagram for the latest update from me, and I have various more content on Instagram if you're discovering me on YouTube right now. Yeah, that's about it guys. Thanks for watching.